Hey everyone, Jason here, digital marketing consultant, and in this sales funnel strategy guide, you're going to learn the 5 simple steps to creating your own strategic sales funnel plan. Timestamp table of contents in the description, along with some other helpful videos to build your funnel. Here we're going to go through those 5 decisions you need to make and how to put together an actionable strategy for you and your business so that your sales funnel is actually successful. So let's go ahead and jump in. The very first thing is, of course, making sure your sales funnel is focused. One of the huge traps new funnel builders fall into is they create this beautiful funnel and then they try and drive tons of traffic to it without really realizing that there needs to be a 1-to-1 ratio pretty much across your entire funnel. If that doesn't make sense, you'll see how this 1-to-1 ratio plays out as we go through our funnel. And when you stick around to the end, I'll actually be sharing with you the key funnel metrics, the 5 metrics you should be looking at throughout your entire sales funnel. And this is the funnel that you're going to be building. So there are going to be different parts of your funnel. You're probably heard of webinar funnels and launch funnels and then VSL funnels. Really all a funnel is a simple process of taking someone who isn't your customer and hopefully turning them into someone who is a happy customer. And that's it. It doesn't matter if we have a webinar, we have a 45-minute video, we have a text sales letter, we send 12 emails, we send 1 email. The whole point is about building rapport and relationships. So keep that in mind as we go through. It doesn't really matter what label you give the funnel, and I'll talk about where the launch and webinar and VSL style stuff comes in, or if you're going to be doing a free plus shipping offer. The very first step here is deciding who your ideal customer is, irrespective of what type of funnel you decide to put together. And the best way to do that is to create an ideal customer profile. So out of all the prospects in the world, prospects are just people who could potentially do business with you. Who's that one ideal person that you want as a customer? Now, there are a couple of simple questions you can ask to figure out who your ideal customer is. I'll link up in the description to a much deeper dive video. We're going to go through this part relatively quickly so we can get on with the strategy. So the very first thing is just, who are they? Basic age, demographics, and location information. You can actually use Google Analytics and Facebook Audience Insights tool for a quick and easy analysis, so you don't have to pull this out of thin air. Again, link in the description to a video that walks you through exactly how to use those 2 tools to answer this question. The next one you want to answer is just figure out who your competitors are and where your ideal customer's attention is. That's going to be very, very helpful when you put together your traffic plan, which is going to be the next step. And finally, the 2 questions that we're going to focus on here with your strategy is going to be, what are the roadblocks and results that they are specifically after? So I'm actually going to go through a quick example here before we move on to the second step. So with these 2 questions, I'll go through an example of someone who's trying to start a YouTube channel. Well, someone who wants to start a YouTube channel, they probably want to be spending more of their time in their business. So they probably want to be much closer to full time. Okay, awesome. What do they think is getting in the way of that? Well, probably they think they need more views, they need more subscribers, maybe they think they need to rank their videos, their video quality isn't as great. Now, you're going to want to take 20 to 30 minutes to do this for your own ideal customer profile, and this is going to lay the foundation for your sales funnel strategy. You need to do these 2 questions before you build anything else in your funnel. You're really going to see how this ties in when we put together our lead magnet. So just keep that in the back of your mind. The next thing we want to do is decide how we're going to get in front of our ideal customers. And when it comes to traffic, there are 2 types of traffic. Both types are going to work for the funnel that you're putting together here. So we're on step 2 of our funnel diagram. The first one is going to be advertising or paid, and the second one is going to be organic or free. Now, here's the key to your funnel. You can do multiple of these, but when you're building your first funnel or when you're building your second or third funnel, you need to choose one. You need to make one funnel for one traffic source for one ideal customer. You're starting to see the 1-to-1 ratio. So we have one customer, one traffic source, one funnel. So it needs to be one throughout, because sales copy that tries to speak to everyone winds up connecting with no one. And so this 1-to-1 ratio, make sure that you're very, very focused in your sales funnel process so that you are speaking to your ideal customer better than all of your other competitors, and you're not just being bland and generic. So you do want to choose one. An easy way to choose it is based upon your budget. If you're on a shoestring budget, then content's the way to go. If you have some money to spend, or you really do want to get good at paid advertising, then go ahead and go the paid route. And whichever you choose, remember Remember, this is just your first funnel. Once this funnel is profitable, you can come back to this step and go through this process again for your second, third, fourth, fifth funnel or whatever. But when you're first starting, just choose one. Now, this next one comes to platform. So once you've decided whether you're going to do organic or you're going to do paid, now you have to choose a platform. So we need to go down to one again. And of course, there are tons of different platforms. There's tons of different traffic sources. But when it comes to choosing which one, if you're going to go with organic, it's going to be either WordPress or YouTube. If you're going to go paid, well, you have a ton of options. It's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, and of course, Google Ads. I could have even put Bing Ads on here, but it seems like no one uses Bing anymore. But hey, maybe Bing Ads might work for you. But either way, you're either going to choose one platform to really master with paid advertising, or you're going to choose one platform, WordPress meaning a blog, or YouTube meaning a YouTube channel, kind of like this one, for your content. The reason you need to choose one is because a jack of all trades is a master of none. So you really need to make sure that you choose one that you're going to focus on and be the best at, because all these platforms are hyper competitive. You might see larger competitors in your niche advertising on Facebook, remarketing on YouTube, and then they have this crazy long blog posts. That's great. You can get there eventually because they have teams of people, literal teams of people who just focus on those individual platforms. But if you're doing this yourself, you need to choose the one platform that you're really going to focus on. So now we know who our ideal customer is, and we have a good idea of where we're going to grab their attention. Once we have that attention, we're going to send them to something called a landing page where we want to collect their contact information. Now, obviously, random strangers or prospects aren't just going to hand over their name and email for no good reason. So we need something to entice them to provide that contact information so we can go through the sales process or make our offer, which is going to be your last step or decision. And so if we go back to our diagram here, you'll see that we have our ideal customer, we have our traffic source, and this next part, the lead magnet and landing page, are where we offer to solve a problem for them in exchange for their contact information. So we'll go through an actual example, but when it comes to a lead magnet, it can be anything from a PDF to a video to a diagram. And this is typically where you start to hear about different types of sales funnels. So when someone says, oh, I have a webinar sales funnel, or I have a launch sales funnel, or I have a free plus shipping sales funnel, typically all those extra words in front of or behind sales funnel is just referring to the type of lead magnet or the type of sales message. So for example, with a webinar funnel, it's pretty much just a video, and all you're doing is combining your sales message and your lead magnet or the value you provide in exchange for that contact information into one thing. Or if you're just offering a PDF guide, then later on in your funnel, you'll actually make your sales pitch via a video or a text sales letter. I'll get to more on that in a little bit. So let's go ahead and go through a couple of examples of what a lead magnet could actually look like. So if you're doing a PDF, which is what I recommend starting with, you can offer an audit, a case study, or a report. An audit is simply a checklist that shows your ideal customer all the mistakes they're making. A case study shows them an example of someone in their similar situation who is actually successful. And a report does a bunch of analysis and research for them. And of course, there are a bunch of different types of lead magnets. So let's go back to our example of someone who's trying to be successful on YouTube. We'll look at that list of roadblocks and then choose one that we want to try and solve for our ideal customer. And this is really powerful because now we're making sure that we're making a lead magnet, or we start our webinar or launch sequence process with the ideal customer in mind and where they are right now. And so here are a couple of examples of what we could do. We could do a webinar or video of how to get more views to your video, a recording of a fellow YouTuber who grew their channel from nothing and insights they gained. That would be an audio version of a case study. We could have a diagram of how to structure a channel page, or format videos for longer watch times. And of course, we could have a PDF checklist or an audit or a spreadsheet to help them track their video rankings. So all of these are relatively simple, but each one of these is directly tied to a roadblock that we thought about in step one, which was our ideal customer. So this makes sure that you don't just make a lead magnet that sounds cool, but nobody actually wants. So we always want to meet the ideal customer where they are and then pull them through our funnel. And so this is how we get that initial contact information. It's so important. So once we have that contact information, we're ready to actually make our offer. So something that's really important with any type of sales funnel that you do, no selling has happened at this point. We have our ideal customer, we've either made some content or some ads, and we've offered them something for free, and hopefully in our webinar or launch sequence or the free PDF we gave them, we demonstrated our worth, we demonstrated our value, we've built rapport, we've showed them that we're not just some random person on the internet, we can actually be helpful to them, and now that we have their email information, we can start our pitch. We can start making our offer. And so you'll send emails that will drive them either back to your webinar if you decided to do a webinar, drive them through your launch sequence if that's what you're doing, or if you did the fast method, which was creating some sort of PDF, then inside your emails and your PDF, you drive them to either a video or written sales letter that actually makes a pitch for your product or service. Of course, this pitch only works if you've actually given value and solve some problems in your lead magnet. So that's how it works. You have to solve a problem, build rapport, demonstrate your value, and then, and only then, start the actual sales pitch. So now let's go ahead and go through some metrics that you need to keep track of as you go through this entire process. So that does it for the 5 steps that you need to go through when deciding what your sales funnel strategy is going to be. So the first thing you want to look at with your traffic and your content is your click-through rate. How many people saw the piece of content, how many people saw the ad, and how many people clicked? You want to get that rate as high as possible. You want more people clicking so that you have more people hitting your landing page. With your landing page, metric number 2 is looking at how many people visited the landing page, how many people opted in. So you want to try and get that as high as possible. You'll do that by trying different headlines. You can even try different lead magnets. I'll link up in the description to a conversion optimization rate guide and a link to a full-blown video on how to write your landing page copy, because this part of the process is really important. Then once they're on your email list, you'll just want to keep track of how many people are actually opening and clicking your emails. Now, typically you're going to look at open rate, just because click-through rate inside of emails is really, you need a couple thousand for it to actually mean something. So you're just going to focus on open rate, and you're going to try out different headlines in different emails to see what gets people to open and click so that they actually hit your sales page. So if your sales page is either text or video, in both instances, you're looking at how many people out of everyone who read the sales letter or watched the webinar or watched the sales video, how many of them actually clicked the link to check out in the shopping cart and completed the process. So that's what you're looking at there. And then finally, one that is super easy to forget, but maybe the most important one out of everything is what's your refund rate? How many people are getting your product or unhappy with your service? Because those are going to be the people that are going to be the best future customers. The best customers come from people who are already customers. So once you keep your customers happy, this is a very long, drawn out, and hard process, despite how easy some other people say it is. This is a lot of work. So once you've gotten someone to be a customer, it's going to be a lot easier to grow and scale your business if you can keep these people happy and then keep giving them products and services that's going to make their lives easier and better. But if they're not happy after all of this, well, guess what? You're gonna have to go all the way back to square one and then keep pushing people through a funnel to a product that ultimately isn't that great. So go ahead and make sure you check out that timestamp table of contents in the description. Drop a question below if you have any questions on putting together your own sales funnel strategy. I read and reply to every single one. So hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dive sales funnel strategy videos just like this one. And until the next, keep building the business you love.